The series begins at the College of Engineering, where we see a disaster happen and all the students are completely terrified. Then we go back in a flashback to understand what happened. And at the beginning, we see Lynn, our female lead for today's story, heading to the university with her two closest friends, Nari and Lila. And as soon as they arrive, they find the students protesting and objecting to the university's plan to merge the engineering department with the fashion department. And what really catches their attention is how different the fashion students are from them. Their clothes, elegance, and confidence are completely opposite to the engineering students, whose main focus is studying and hard work. And moments later, our male lead hack arrives to apply at the university, and the students completely forget about the protest the moment they see him because he is a famous fashion model. And not only that, even high school girls skip their classes and come all the way to the university just to see the famous star, the dream boy of every girl, and everything is turned upside down because of him. Then we see Lynn lost in her thoughts, or more accurately, extremely happy, because she finally managed to fix her laptop and made it much more powerful than before. And she starts explaining to Layla how she gathered the money to repair it. And since she has a sharp mind and spends most of her day online, she found an ad from a famous director who was looking for a writer to write crime stories for him. So she immediately seized the opportunity, met him, the producer, and the rest of the team, understood exactly what they wanted, wrote the story, and received a good amount of money which she used to upgrade her device, showing how her brain works like a computer. And on top of that, the most important thing in her life is her studies, as she ranks first in her college every single year. And while everyone else is focused on the protest and the problem of merging the two departments, she is focused on the scholarship that would completely change her life and allow her to study in America. So she quickly heads to the student affairs office, and at the same time, Hack is also looking for the dean's office and has no idea where to go until he runs into her, asks her for directions, and she answers quickly and explains the way in a very brief manner. But of course, he doesn't understand anything, and she herself can't see clearly because her glasses are completely fogged up from the cold weather, until she eventually gets annoyed and shortens the explanation even more. All of this while neither of them can see the other properly. And when she finally reaches the office, the employee tells her that they called her yesterday to register for the scholarship, but unfortunately she didn't answer because she was completely buried in studying programming like she does every day, which means she has to renew all her application papers and get the dean's signature again from scratch. And at that moment, the dean is sitting with Hack and his manager San, and from San's words we realize how materialistic he is and that money is the most important thing in his life. Then we go back to Lynn sitting during the break with Lila, when Nari comes excited and shocked at the same time because she heard that one of the fashion department students has 1 million followers on social media. And our heroine responds by saying that social media is something trivial and that anyone who wastes time on it must be trivial as well. Then she quickly calculates for them that such a person would need to post 20 posts per hour to reach 1 million followers, which leaves her friends amazed by her incredible intelligence. And while they are talking, Hack walks in and everything goes crazy. All the girls gather around him wanting to take pictures with him, except for Lynn, who stays seated, watching them. And the moment she sees him, she tells her friends that he is the student with 1 million followers, while also looking at the girls with disdain, seeing him as just an ordinary guy, not handsome or special, thinking that they are just exaggerating. And in another place, we see a female student from the fashion department watching the girls' live streams as they film Hack, when suddenly Professor Yoon appears above her head and asks her what she is doing and who that is. And at first the girl gets scared, then starts explaining how Hack began his artistic career, that he first appeared on a famous dating show where he captured everyone's attention with his overwhelming beauty and kind soul, and that he used to sit quietly while everyone talked. And after they all went to sleep, he would clean the place by himself, showing how different he was from everyone else, which is why he became famous so quickly, even though he is still in his 20s. And at the same time, Lynn's friends are watching the dating show, and during one episode, there is a competition between the contestants, and Lynn immediately knows that Hack will win. And when they ask her how she knows, she calculates that his angle is 90 degrees opposite to the other contestants, giving him more space. And in the end, he actually wins. But she suddenly snaps out of the discussion and tells them that she has to go to the dean now to get the scholarship papers signed. But unfortunately, her pen falls, and when she bends down to pick it up, an old man appears and his cane gets hooked in her bag, dragging her and scratching her face, making her scream until Hack notices and quickly saves her. And then he signs her scholarship papers because he misunderstood and thought she was trying to push through the crowd to get his autograph. And when he sees her name, he realizes that she is the girl who writes romantic comments on all his posts every day, which makes her look at him like she's thinking, "Are you stupid? Or who do you even think you are?" And despite that, neither of them realizes that they met earlier. And then she runs down the stairs trying to catch the dean, but the secretary tells her that he left just 3 minutes ago. And when she sees Hack's signature on the paper, the secretary tells her that if she had cared more about the scholarship than about the famous star's signature, she would have definitely caught the dean. But the girl doesn't understand what she means, and when she looks at the paper and sees the signature, she goes crazy and wishes she could see him just to kill him because he truly delayed her with his stupidity. Then we go into another flashback and discover that they met 2 years ago during a volunteer job as security guards at a hotel hosting an event where he was being honored. And at that time, she saw him arguing with a rude man who wanted to park his car in someone else's spot by force. So she tried to help him by pretending to record the man on her phone. When he saw her, the man panicked out of fear of being exposed and ran away quickly. And after that, Hack thanked her, but they did not see each other's faces because they were wearing masks. And when he noticed the Academy logo on her phone, he asked her about it, so she told him that she was planning to study engineering at the university starting next year. God willing, then we move to Lynn while she is asleep, completely exhausted, with her phone playing a video of Hack, where he tells his audience how happy he is to be studying at the Korean Institute of Engineering, and he also talks about the girl he met 2 years ago, describing how ambitious she was, almost praising her like poetry, but unfortunately she doesn't hear any of it because she is asleep. And the next day, we see Hack heading to the Institute while scrolling through his profile, and at that moment, he finds the page of the girl he thought was her, but when he opens it, he discovers the shock that it is a completely different person, and he snaps out of it when San tells him that he is paying a monthly rent of $1,500 for their car, which shocks Hack, so he asks him why all this waste, saying he is totally fine taking the metro because he is still at the beginning of his life and needs to save every penny. But his manager is a man who loves showing off and wants everyone to see Hack as a shining star, because that way producers will chase after him, work with him more, and earn more money. And seconds later, he receives a message from his apartment owner telling him that she is increasing the rent this month, which confuses him. So he asks San how the apartment rent is monthly when San had told him it was semi-annual. But of course, San always dodges responsibility, lies to him, and convinces him that the woman must mean the studio rent, not the apartment, then tells him to focus on his work and take care of his skin so it keeps glowing, and to leave these matters to him. And the next day, we see the girls entering the university, where Layla stops a student and asks him what he is doing there after already graduating. So he tells her that he came specifically to attend Professor Mito's course because he is world-class and has worked with major companies. But the girls worry that the university administration might use Mito as an excuse to push the merger forward. And luckily, when they enter the lecture, Professor Yoon informs them that Mito is not coming because a complaint was filed against him for disturbing Asian students specifically, and that the new professor who will replace him starting next week will be announced in tomorrow's lecture. And after they leave the class, they see a poster for a competition for outstanding students. But Layla tells them it must be a lie to trick them, while Nari notices that the prize is $20,000 to be won by only 3 students. And when Lynn focuses a bit, she calculates the prize value and realizes that the 3 winners would lose a lot after tax deductions. But if they become 4 and file an appeal to reclaim the deduction, each one's share would be very good. And here Layla agrees to join the competition after completely rejecting the idea before, but on the condition that each of them donates a small amount to a charity fund so they can stop the merger. Then we return to Hack as he prepares to shoot a new advertisement at the university for the world's latest laptop. And we notice that he personally prepares juice for his girlfriend Jenny, who is also the main actress in the ad and is an artist, though not very famous. Then we go back to the girls as they sit drawing and planning how to win the competition. And at the same moment, a member of the filming crew enters to charge the laptop that will be used in the advertisement. And seconds later, Lynn notices that her own device needs charging, so she removes the other laptop, puts her own in its place, leaves it there, and goes back to explaining the plan to her friends while Professor Yoon is standing at a distance, listening closely, realizing that Lynn is extremely intelligent and that her mind surpasses even Einstein himself. Then Jenny arrives, and as soon as she enters, all the girls go crazy wanting to take pictures with her, while Hack clearly cares about her, and from his eyes, it is obvious that he loves her deeply, but she treats him in public as nothing more than a colleague. And when the ad shoot begins, the assistant returns and mistakenly takes Lynn's laptop while Lynn is still explaining. Then she remembers her laptop, goes to get it, and is shocked to find a different one, immediately realizing that they took her device by mistake to use it in the ad. So she and her 3 friends rush to stop the disaster before it happens, because the laptop used in the ad opens from both sides, which would break her device, and the poor girl starts screaming loudly, meaning, "Stop, that laptop is mine." But unfortunately, the fans misunderstand her words as love confessions to Hack, so they repeat after her, making the filming crew shout at them to be quiet, and one of them even records Lynn's voice, so no girl repeats after her. And sadly, Hack tries once and twice to open the laptop but fails, and on the 3rd attempt it breaks into 2 pieces. And not only that, while trying to save the assistant from falling, the device drops into water, then juice spills on it, and with his quick thinking, he tries to save the situation by drying it with a hairdryer. But in the end, the result is a completely ruined, burnt piece of mush, all while Lynn is unable to say a single word from the shock. Then we see Hack going to spend a nice evening with Jenny at the hotel, while at the same time, Lynn coincidentally sees Hack's photo on the street, gets angry, and we go into a flashback of her yelling at the director, demanding compensation for the ruined laptop, but the shameless director puts all the blame on the assistant, saying since she made the mistake, she should pay. But Layla hates injustice, speaks to the director, and tells him he has no mercy for making the poor girl bear all the responsibility alone, then asks where the producer is, while outside the argument is heated, and instead of coming out to solve the problem, he is inside confessing his love to Jenny, expecting her to love him too, but she shocks him by telling him that he is just a phase in her life and will end, that she is not thinking about love or marriage now, and that her most important goal is to become a global star in Hollywood, also telling him that tomorrow he will meet someone better and fall in love with her, which leaves him devastated. But he hides it as much as he can, and since their conversation ends, he goes out sadly, tells the girls that he is responsible for what happened, and that he will pay the money, apologizes to the assistant, asks her not to cry, promises to fix everything, and asks Lynn for her number to transfer the amount. But suddenly Son appears like a monkey, stops him, gives her his own number instead, and promises to contact her today and transfer the money to her account, which she believes, but in reality, he is running away from the situation. And after they leave, Hack hints again that she did this just to get his number, but San replies and tells him that this girl does not seem like the other flashy girls, and shortly after, as he is leaving, he sees her walking away extremely angry, so he runs after her, starts apologizing, and asks her if they had met before because he felt that her face was familiar, but she literally wanted to kill him because every time she saw his face, he caused a disaster for her. So without thinking, she told him that she had never seen him before, that she was not one of his fans at all, and that she did not even like him, which hurt him, but he stayed calm anyway, took her phone, and took a selfie with her, while she stared at him with hatred, thinking to herself that she wished she could open his head and see what was inside it, because it was impossible for him to be this stupid. And when night came, we saw her taking the laptop to a repair center, where the technician asked her for a very large amount of money, and if she wanted it urgently, she would have to pay extra, so the girl was biting her hands in frustration. And if Hack had been standing in front of her at that moment, she would have literally killed him. And the bigger disaster was that San was not answering her at all, and had completely blocked her, which made her furious. So she went on Instagram to message him, only to be shocked when she saw a post from his manager saying that the assistant broke the device during filming, and that the famous star, bless him, had taken responsibility for what happened, meaning he made a disaster, and they were presenting him to the public as a hero, which drove her even crazier because of the lies. Then we go back to Hack when he went to Jenny's hotel, and we discover that she was the one who called him, but at that moment, she received a call from the director, so she brushed Hack off because she was treating him like a spare option, and because of that, the poor guy left completely emotionally shattered. But by coincidence, he bumps into Lynn, and the moment she sees him, she runs after him and stops him, while he thinks she is Jenny and cannot pull away from her, so suddenly he hugs her, which is a disaster. Then he realizes and quickly lets go, apologizes, and leaves, and the girl runs after him, but he refuses to listen because he wants to leave before Jenny comes out, and Lynn loses control and explodes in his face like a stove with 20 flames, finally explaining the whole story to him. So he apologizes and tells her that his manager had made him believe that he already paid her the money and took her number. Then suddenly, Jenny appears standing in front of them as if she cannot see Hack at all, and he cannot even look her in the eyes after what she did to him. So he leaves, and the girl follows him, and suddenly a man on a scooter almost hits her, but the hero saves her at the last second, and in the end, he gives her his phone number and promises to pay for the laptop repair. And the next day, Professor Yoon tells them that she will hold a competition, and that each team must consist of 4 members. And when they ask her why 4 specifically, she explains that it makes evaluation easier for her, and that the winning team will receive a trophy from the dean of the college himself. And after the lecture ends, she tells them they must hold a meeting and decide which student they will choose as their 4th member. But at that moment, Lynn feels pain in her stomach and goes to the bathroom. And when she comes out, she is surprised to find Hack waiting for her with the girls. And in truth, he is very kind and brings her a brand new laptop. And yes, at first she pretends that she does not want it, but deep inside, she is dying for it because it is newer than her old one and much more expensive. And in the end, the girls convince her to accept the gift, so she accepts it immediately. And he also asks to join their team and become their 4th partner. And at that moment, Lynn looks into his eyes and completely melts, while he recognizes her from the way she speaks as the genius child he used to love watching compete in the past. And then we go into a flashback from 2 days earlier, where we see Jenny's manager connecting them all on a video call and telling them that they were photographed together in front of the hotel, and that if this photo is posted on social media, it will be a scandal. And not only that, Jenny would lose her new film, so they keep searching for a solution until Jenny finally asks Tandem to leave her alone with Hack to talk privately. And she tries to convince him that the best solution is for him to admit publicly that he was meeting Lynn and that she just passed by them by coincidence, which caused her to appear in the photo, and that this would not affect him or Lynn at all because they are not famous, but she would lose a lot because she is known in the entertainment industry. But Hack is not fully convinced, so she plays on his feelings, and in the end, she manages to fool him him and convince him. And when morning comes, he goes to meet the girls, and they start discussing whether he is suitable to join their team or not, especially since he studies design while they study programming. And Nari responds to Lin by saying that the professor did not say that all team members must be from the same department. But while they are talking, another problem happens, and all the girls start filming them with Hack, which bothers Lin even more because she is a genius girl whose only focus is her studies and her future. He realized that what she was saying was right, so he went out and asked them to please stop filming them. And if they insisted so much, they should at least blur his face and his friends' faces and respect their privacy a little. And after he came back to them again, he found her asking him a strange question, asking what his goal was from this competition. So the boy tried to tell them about his grandfather's will, but he could not explain the idea properly. While she remained strict with him the whole time, trying to make him understand that his presence with them was not welcome. But in truth, she had already started to like him and wanted to distance herself so she would not weaken in front of him even more. And after the meeting ended, Hack went out to his manager San, who kept talking to him about their new advertisement, but Hack was not focused at all, as all he could think about was how to make the team need him and ask him to stay with them. And on a new day, we see Nari in class, where they are supposed to be learning how to walk on the red carpet. And sadly, everyone laughs at her because she is overweight, but her heart is kind and gentle, and even the rude professor mocks her in front of everyone and hurts her feelings. But after the lecture ends, a young man named Bai appears, and from the way he speaks, we understand that he feels sorry for her. And to cheer her up, he tries to pull her out of her bad mood, and they start imitating the professor and making fun of him together. And at the end of the day, Hack meets the girls and tries to convince them of his new idea, which is that each of them could rent out a room from her apartment and promote it on Instagram, which would increase her income. But Lin sees it as a silly idea and tries to explain her point of view to him on the phone, and he unintentionally gets close to her, but in truth she gets flustered and her feelings move, yet she keeps pretending to be strong and acts as if she does not see him at all. And in the end, sweet Nari tries to save the situation before they kick him out of the team. And when Hack senses that they want to talk alone, he leaves them and goes outside to get some air. And without meaning to, he overhears them arguing, as Nari insists on keeping him with them while Lin sees him as a failure who does not belong in their genius team. So he decides to step in before they hurt each other more, explains that he understands their point of view and that he would not be happy if they fought because of him. And in the end, he withdraws from the team. And at that moment, while he was speaking, Lin was lost in his innocent eyes full of kindness and warmth. And after he leaves, she runs after him trying to talk to him, but she cannot put two words together. And every time she looks at him, she feels dizzy from his beauty. And after a few minutes, he receives a call saying he must do an Instagram ad immediately. So he apologizes to her and steps aside, records the ad in just 2 seconds. But when he returns to her, she has unfortunately disappeared. And at the end of the day, he goes out to San, who was waiting for him in the car, and asks him whether he will hold Lin responsible as Jenny asked or not. And he answers no, saying the girl has no fault and that he will try to find another solution. And at that moment, we go into a flashback from about 10 years ago when his grandfather was sick in the hospital and told him that their family was genetically foolish and that he hoped Hack would marry a smart girl like the one he used to watch in genius competitions back then, because if he married her, he would change the family genes, otherwise they would all go extinct. And that is how we discover that she was his first love. And the next day, the two departments hold a meeting to form a joint emergency committee. And honestly, Rowan, the head of the fashion department, is selfish and wants their side to control the committee. So Layla tries to discuss things with them because she is truly intelligent. But Rowan tells her that the university administration will surely decide the matter between them. And after a long discussion that leads nowhere, they decide to hold joint elections between the two departments. And whoever wins will become the emergency committee responsible for the competition. And in another place, we see Hack training angrily at the gym because his self-confidence has been shaken, and he now sees himself as a useless person after feeling that Lin did not want him on the team. And at the same time, his coach Gio talks to him and tries to convince him not to think about people who do not see his value, to look around and focus on the girls who care about him and whose life dream is for him to speak to them even once. And after a while, he changes his clothes, and as soon as he comes out of the bathroom, he sends a message to Jenny on Instagram asking how she is, but then quickly deletes it and tells himself that she will not reply anyway. And suddenly his three closest friends surprise him for his birthday. One of them a rap singer, the second his coach, and the third a football player. And they ask him to go to the mall to shop and relax a bit. But it is clear that Lin's words affected him deeply, and he explains to them that these things are trivial and that they should use their time to learn new skills. Yet the beautiful thing is that the image in his mind never leaves him for a moment. And in the end, his friends listen to him and go to the university to play a tennis match, and we return again to the emergency elections where they draw lots. And the team that wins the draw will win the elections. And they keep drawing until it is Layla's turn, but unfortunately she loses. And they start distributing tasks among themselves. And after the elections end, Lin and her friends gather again and try to look for a fourth partner to join them, wanting a hardworking and intelligent student. But sadly, every time they try to convince someone, they find themselves reaching a dead end. And it turned out that he was late and had already joined another team until Professor Yoon comes in and tells them that there is only a very limited time left before registration registration for the competition closes, and she also explains that they raised the prize from $20,000 to $30,000, and that either way, each of the four winners would get a very good share. And after they leave, the two girls stand there wondering what they are going to do about this problem, especially since they cannot find anyone. And if things stay like this, they will not even be able to enter the competition at all. And Nari tries to draw Lynn's attention to the fact that Hack had been an irreplaceable opportunity for them, especially since he is famous and has many followers, so their chances of winning would have been guaranteed. But Lynn stubbornly responds and keeps resisting, explaining with a mathematical theory how he's not actually a gain for them, or more precisely, when you multiply his million followers by the total population of Korea, you find that only 2 out of every 100 people actually follow him, meaning his popularity would not really make a difference for them. So Layla responds to her and implies that what she is saying is not logical at all, and she wants to prove her wrong, telling her that they will randomly ask students who is the person they are thinking about the most right now. And when they ask several students in a row, they all answer and say, Hack. And here the genius finally starts to be convinced, decides to give up her pride, seize the opportunity before it is lost forever, and try to convince Hack to join their team, especially after seeing how excellent he was in the tennis match, how he refused to lose, and did the impossible until he won. So she quickly goes to talk to him, and he asks her why she changed her words, seeing her answer as illogical, because he concluded from her words that she only needed him for his handsome looks and great fame, and in the end, he rejects the offer and leaves. Then we see Layla at her first meeting with the emergency committee, where the dean enters and informs them that the team that wins the competition will not only win the $30,000, but will also travel to train at one of the biggest technology companies in America. But there is a new condition added to the competition rules, which is that each team must have at least one contestant from the fashion department. And here, Lynn and her friends almost wanted to slap their faces because the opportunity had been in their hands and they were the ones who wasted it. So she decides not to let this chance slip away, to swallow her pride and do everything she can to convince him. So she quickly goes back to look for him. And at that moment, she sees how hardworking he is during the fashion lecture, immediately uses her brain and thinks of a way to bring him back to them again. And at the end of the day, the fashion department holds a party since they are the cool department in the university, and some engineering students sneak into the party to enjoy a nice time because such things are forbidden for them. And at that moment, Lynn is still looking for Hack at the party, sends a message to her friends asking them to come to her, and finally she finds him and tries to talk to him. But he does not want to listen to her because his pride is hurting badly from what she did to him. And at that moment, Jin sees her trying to brainwash him, gets annoyed, tells her that Hack is now in his team, and the two start arguing in front of each other while Hack stands there watching, not knowing what to do, until in the end, Lynn starts screaming loudly because he cannot hear her over the music, and suddenly the music stops and she shouts that she needs him with her. So everyone misunderstands her and starts filming her, and at the same time, Hack finally agrees and explains to those present that she means she needs him with her on the team, not anything else. And at the beginning of a new day, we see Lynn's father at their hotel, who becomes very happy when he sees two young men come in to book a room because sadly it has been a long time since anyone even greeted them. But the young men get scared of him because his way of speaking is strange, so they quickly run away from the place. And then we go back to the team gathered together, starting to plan and study hard for the competition. And during this, they ask Hack why he left the other team. So he replies that one of the girls confessed her love to him, and he got scared that things would get complicated because he was afraid that it would cause problems between them, and also because that team treated him like a famous actor, unlike this group who considered him a friend and dealt with him sincerely from the heart, and that it was impossible for any of them to fall in love with him. So Lynn suddenly replied without realizing it, in a loud voice, telling them that she could like him normally. Then she froze in shock at herself, and they all stared at her in surprise as if to say, "What are you saying? Are you crazy?" So she tried to cover it up by joking about it and saying she meant it mathematically, like a 3% probability mixed with random nonsense, dragging them into a completely different loop. And after that, we see Hack riding home in the car, extremely happy because of Lynn's words, constantly thinking about her and her friends, unable to believe that he finally had friends who liked him and whom he liked back, not people who treated him like some alien superstar. And the next day, the fashion department decides to design a unified uniform for both departments. And honestly, Layla does not like the style, but they treat it as their decision alone and ignore her opinion, doing whatever they want anyway. And elsewhere, we see Lynn, after she returns to the apartment, shocked to find her father visiting her from his trip, planning to stay a few days until he meets a friend and then leave. But her father surprises her by pulling out a photo of Hack from his bag, explaining that Hack once did an advertisement for their hotel and that he is supposed to be studying with her at the university. And he asks her to get his signature on the ad because he really likes him, especially his innocent smile that makes him smile unconsciously and feel optimistic every time he sees it. And the next morning, we see Hack heading to the university. And the moment Lynn sees his car, she waves at him without thinking, then suddenly asks herself what she just did. And as she turns to leave, he steps out of the car and rushes over to greet her, asking how she recognized his car. And she is surprised that he noticed her so quickly, snaps at him a little, tells him she saw him drive driving it before, then pulls out the advertisement and explains that her father wants him to sign it. So he asks her to turn her face away, signs it, and then San gets out of the car and starts saying unpleasant things to her, implying how rude it was to make Hack get out just to sign something, that his time does not belong to him, calling it bad manners and saying more insulting things. But she stands her ground, responds sharply, tells him he is disrespectful, and walks away. And at the end of the day, as she is returning from university, she sees her father leaving the hotel with a beautiful woman, immediately assuming he is cheating on her mother, and she stays shocked all night, staring at him, asking herself how her respectable father after all these years could turn out to be a cheater like other men. And when a new day begins, we see the four of them gathered together discussing dating apps. And Lin asks Nari how two people who have never met can get together so easily. And Nari explains that they do not just fall in love instantly, but first get to know each other by asking what they like and dislike. And if they feel compatible, they continue, and if not, they stop. Simple as that. And at that point, Hack tries to change the topic to avoid an argument and tells them about a new golf course advertisement he was offered, saying how excited he is because golf courses protect nature. But Lin explodes, releasing all her negative energy, calling him stupid and telling him he should research before accepting any ad, because if he did, he would discover that building golf courses actually destroys the environment, not protects it as he thinks. Then she storms off, leaving the poor guy on the verge of tears from her harsh tone. And when he gets home, the first thing he does is search online, discovering the horrible truth that building a golf course requires destroying all surrounding nature, whether beehives, rabbit farms, animals, and more. And because Hack is a pure-hearted young man, he starts crying from sadness and from his own ignorance, apologizing to the bees and rabbits in his heart for how humans destroy their lives. And from the depth of his sorrow, he remembers the past, how his father's wife, whom he loved like a mother, divorced and left the house after discovering her husband's infidelity. And that day, his grandfather advised him, as always, that he must be a responsible person and not careless like his father. And after recovering from his sadness, he tries to gather himself and do a cosmetics advertisement live on Instagram. But he cannot continue because of his emotional state, so he leaves the live stream, changes his clothes, and goes outside to breathe fresh air, hoping his mood will improve. But he wishes he had not done that, because he then sees a group of drunk young men holding a picture of Jenny, so he turns his face, wanting to walk away, tries to convince himself that it is just a picture, but he cannot take it, steals the photo from them and runs away, keeps running, until by coincidence he crashes into Lin, who decides to help him and runs with him because she knows the area better. But then he grabs her hand and runs with her, her heart pounding wildly as she looks at him, unable to believe what is happening. So if you enjoy this series and want next part, just leave the comment and like the video.